All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out to this webinar. My name is Matt. I am part of the technical specialist team here at Chargify. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at our new feature, the component price points. You'll probably have questions specific to your use cases and such. We ask that if you leave those questions till the end, and there's a section on the right of your screen where you can put those questions in a little chat box, and we'll answer those at the end of the presentation, which should be about 15 minutes or so. So let's get started. So with component price points today, we're going to look at 6 main things. First, we'll dive in to how it works. Then we'll look at some use cases such as grandfathering prices, custom pricing, unlimited pricing options, and then we'll look at some key actions you might want to take, such as bulk moving subscriptions and simplifying your product configuration. So let's look at how it works. So you would, of course, create a component the way you normally would to start. You would put your component name, the unit name, and the description. And then you'll see the new feature, which is the component price points. The first price point name will default to the term original. You can then include a price point handle, and this is particularly useful if you want to connect with this price point through the API. You would then choose the pricing scheme as you normally would, and then put the pricing for this particular price point. And then when you want to add another price point, you would simply click Add Price Point. That will bring up a second section, which is similar to the first, where you would put your next price point name, such as second price point, your second handle, etc. And you can do this for the second price point, third price point, fourth, fifth, etc. And there's already thousands of price points being used in the Chargify system. The final result is that you will have multiple price points on just one component. So in this image, we have our original price point as well as the second price point. There's then key actions that you can take on each price point. So for example, you can edit a particular price point. You can make a different price point the default. You can move subscriptions from one price point to another, and you can archive a price point if it's no longer useful for you. So now let's look at some real life use cases that come up. And let's start with grandfathering prices. So let's say that you currently offer pricing of $29 per user per month to your existing client base. And let's say that you want to make your price $39 per user per month for your new customers, but keep your existing customers on the old price. On your existing component, you would simply create a new price point for $39 per user. And then you would make that the default for this component. Next, you would simply enable that new price point on your public sign-up pages or on a particular page. And if you are using the API, you'll just want to ensure that your API calls are utilizing the proper price point. And finally, you would launch your price change. So in this example image, we're looking at a public sign-up page where we have the new price point of $39 per user for this particular component. Price points can be used in 4 different ways. 1, through the public sign-up pages, also through the API, through ChargeFi Direct, and manually creating subscriptions in the user interface. Now, let's take a look at custom pricing. Custom pricing will allow you to create unique prices for different client sets that you have. So, some examples of how this can come in handy. So, let's say that you have products with a base fee and you also charge variable component prices. So example A, you may have a set of clients who are small business clients. You charge them $20 a month as the base and $10 per user per month. Example B, you also have a set of enterprise customers and you charge them the same $20 a month base, but then $5 per user per month as a lower price because they likely have more users and therefore bring you more revenue. What's interesting about this is that both examples A and B utilize the same component within Chargify, so everything is simplified. And for reporting, Chargify categorizes the revenue from both price points into the same component, which simplifies the reporting. Another similar example is for $0 products, where you use them to set the billing duration, such as monthly, yearly, etc. So example A again, we have our small business clients. We charge them $10 per user per month. Then you have your enterprise clients, and then you charge them $5 per user per month. And as a third option, maybe you have some unique pricing where you name a completely custom price only for your largest clients. All you would have to do is just add a price point. It's that easy. Maybe it's $7.50 per user, $6.67, etc. And again, all scenarios use the same component. And if you want to be more sophisticated, you could offer different price points for your tiered and volume-based components. An example would be charging one customer $1 for units 1 through 10, 75 cents for units 11 through 20, etc. And for an enterprise customer, perhaps you charge them 75 cents for units 1 to 100, 50 cents for units 101 to 200, etc. And again, all scenarios use the same component. Next, let's look at unlimited pricing options. You can price the way that you and your business need. So how and why is it unlimited? Well, it's simple. All you have to do is create a $0 product. And what that does is establish the billing interval that you need, monthly, yearly, etc. Then you can create just one component and then create all the price points that you need. It literally translates into an endless amount of pricing possibilities. Next, let's look at the comparison between product versions and component price points. Both are key features, and we can look at the key differences between the two. First, with product versions, new customers can only subscribe to the latest version, whereas with component price points, customers can actually subscribe to any price point you want them to, whether it's allocating it via API or choosing a new default as a price point to offer your customers. Products, as you would expect, naturally support one price because that's the nature of products. Whereas with component price points, there's literally an unlimited amount of price points. And finally, the newest version of a product is always the default. Any price point, though, can be the default when you need it to be. Now let's look at some actions you may want to take. For example, bulk moving subscriptions. This is best if you have many custom products and you want to consolidate, if you want to organize your reporting, or if you want to clean up your long list of products within your account. So once you get the subscribers on a particular component, you could click the cog icon next to that red arrow and then simply select Move Subscriptions. Next, you can select the new price point that you want from the drop-down menu and then check mark the subscriptions that you want to move. And then you click Move Subscriptions. So in 3 easy steps, you can move the subscriptions from one price point to another. And finally, let's look at simplifying your product configuration. So a common example that comes up is SaaS companies who offer user licenses. So for example, $10 per month for each user license, but for different billing durations, 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and 12-month plans. Without price points, this would require 4 products and 4 components. One component for $10 per unit, one component for $30 per unit, $60 per unit, and $120 per unit. Now, price points simplifies that greatly because now you only need 4 products and 1 single component. So you could have 1 component, and then within that component, you have 4 price points, 10, 30, 60, and 120 per unit. And therefore, you effectively solve the use case of user licenses who have different billing durations, such as the 1, 3, 6, and 12-month plans. So I hope you enjoyed that and found some stuff useful there. If you have questions, please feel free to type them in now. We have several Chargify employees waiting to answer those questions, so feel free to drop those in.
Just to let everybody know, this is Kayla here with the Customer Success Team. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar to everyone. So even if you had a colleague who wanted to join that couldn't, you can provide this to them. Also, if they've registered, we'll send this out to them as well, even if they missed the presentation itself.
Hey guys, this is Nick from the technical specialist team. It looks like Matt may not be able to see the questions. I can though, so I'm just going to jump in here. We've been asked this several times. When is this available? It is actually available right now in your account, so you should see this and have access to it. So feel free to jump in, try it out, and see if you can utilize it. The other thing is a cost associated with this. So that has no additional cost. This is just an included feature within your account. So you won't see any additional cost for this feature set, and you will have access to it right now. Give me a moment while I also sort through some more of these. As Kayla mentioned, we will be sending out a recording. That's been asked several times. Some questions about the API documentation. So the documentation to utilize this for the API is available and out there, including the Chargify Direct documentation. So you'll see this feature set within that documentation, and you can use that to set it up. If you have any questions, though, feel free to send in a ticket. We'll be happy to help figure out those API calls for you. Let's see here, what other questions we got.
I just wanted to chime in by letting everyone know that we do see your questions, but we do have quite a few coming in. We're going to answer all of them, but it might take a minute to get to yours.
Yeah, let me start working top down here, guys.
And if you have specific use cases that you would like to talk to somebody, I would recommend to go to support directly through that. Right now, we're just trying to answer questions relating to the actual product itself. But if you want to talk through your specific case, I would recommend submitting a ticket to talk to an agent about that.
So this is kind of just circling back to kind of one of the things that that Matt outlined before. Someone has a situation where they have 96 products right now, right? Because those all determine the variable length and also the price for what you're going to charge your subscriptions. With this feature, you could actually, and again, these are, as Kayla mentioned, each scenario is going to be different. But if those 96 products were all monthly products, you could actually move into having just one product and one component, and then use price points on that one component. So you'd actually simplify from 96 products into a single component, and then use the price points to determine which subscriptions are going to be charged which pricing variable. So if it's $5 a month, you'd have a per unit $5 price point, 10, 20, so on and so forth, and then you would have those subscriptions assigned to those price points. Hopefully that helped answer that question there. Still coming down the list here. As Kayla mentioned, we have a ton of questions. And well, I did mention that the documentation is updated for the API for this. It is, all the endpoints are available, and you can manipulate this through the API. So you can make calls and update the price points on subscriptions, create new price points, and basically everything that you can do in the UI, you should be able to do via the API. And again, if you have any issues with that, please submit a ticket. We'll be happy to take a look at that. And we do have a question. So this can also be utilized with Chargify Direct. So seen that question a few times. So you can pass what price point you want folks signing up with your Chargify Direct forms. So it is supported with that feature set.
Did we talk about how coupons and the component price points work together, Nick? Sorry if you already talked about that.
No, I didn't. Is that one of the questions I can look at in reference, or you just want to general?
Yeah, the question is, how does coupon application work with component price points?
Sure. So it'll actually function just like how it functions now. It'll just utilize whatever price point that it's on. So it's not gonna affect the relationship there with how coupons work, especially with the new coupon restrictions and everything like that. So if you're restricting it to a component, it'll still be restricted to that component, and then whatever price point that subscription happens to be on. So it still has the same way it interacts with each other as it did before. It just so happens that you can set that subscription to be on a different price point within that component. That was a good question too. Thanks for bringing that one up.
I'm kind of getting a differently worded question through a few people. So some customers are kind of interested or aware of another feature, and this is kind of derailing a little bit, but another feature that we have on the back end called subscription rollup. This is not subscription rollup. It doesn't tie into it. It's not a preemptive feature for subscription rollup, so it's completely separate. If you have need for things like child-parent relationships, through the subscriptions, this is not going to solve this. What this does solve is the mini price points that you offer. So if you have a company that maybe has a special pricing point, if you do name your own pricing, this allows you to condense that product offering from multiple different components into a single one. So the idea is that your component is understandably the same product, but you might have many different pricing points underneath it. So again, just to reiterate, this is not subscription rollup. It doesn't have anything to do with the subscription child-parent relationship. But a really good question and very insightful on the new feature release.
Another good question that came in here, kind of someone who's moving some products over to Chargify right now. They charge, let's say, $40 for, for a certain amount of users. And they want to grandfather them into that as they bring them over into Chargify. It sounded like the previous solution that they were going to utilize was going to be a coupon that would bring the product price down to that amount. Now with the price points feature, you won't have to use up that coupon slot or create a coupon. You would just be able to create essentially the old price within the system, make sure that the subscriptions that should have that be on that price, and then, as Matt mentioned before, create the new price point, make that the default, and then moving forward, everyone else will not, be using the new price. So that will not only, it'll make it cleaner, like on the statements or invoices and anything that you send to your customers, because it's not going to have a coupon on there that's giving them a discount, that's bringing it down to the old price. Like, it'll just show the old price. So you could definitely utilize price points instead of having to rely on coupons. And kind of a similar question. So someone who currently uses coupons to modify prices to specific customers, and they're kind of asking, should you continue using coupons versus using price points? I think it depends on a few factors. First being, at the moment, you can only apply one coupon per subscription, meaning that you can only, if you're giving them the discount to bring them to a certain price, you're not able to technically give them another coupon that would manipulate maybe a different component or another pricing aspect there. So that would be a reason to consider moving over from using coupons to price points, because you could set them at a price and then you could free up that coupon slot to be able to apply a different discount if needed. You'd also have a much easier time managing who currently is on which component price point, and also be able to move them around as needed and adjust their prices as needed. With a coupon, you can run into some difficulties if you've limited the discount on it, or if you actually remove the coupon from the from the subscription, you'll lose all that kind of coupon data and you won't know who is on that anymore. So I think there's a much easier management with the price points, especially when you go into the component and you see the list of price points and you see, how many subscriptions are on each one, and then you can click in there and you can see which subscriptions they are. And if you saw on the screenshot Matt provided, there's actually like a link to the subscription, so you can click it, get directly to their subscription record. So it's much easier to move them around and do the more of the, management aspect of dealing with having multiple different kind of price tiers.
Here's another good question, Nick. How does this feature affect the subscription export? Will there be a column for each price point, or will they be bucketed together?
That, Luke, is that in the CSV export yet? Do you know? Or Jeffrey? I know that it was on the list, but I can't remember if it got implemented yet.
Hey, this is Jeffrey with Chargify. We're currently working on updating the subscription CSV export to include a price point column. That's in the plans, just hasn't made it out yet.
Perfect. Thanks for jumping in there. So yeah, so it sounds like it's on the docket. It's just not released yet. So at the moment, you'll still see what, if you do include components in your CSV exports, you'll see it as you used to, where it's just the component and then the allocations for that component. But it sounds like we are planning to implement so that when you export, you will see the component price point. I will note that I don't think it was shown in any of the screenshots, but when you actually go in and you're editing a subscription itself, like if you look at the allocation history, we went in and updated all of that to reflect price points. So if you actually switch between price points, you're going to see that logged. You'll see at what price point they were when a certain allocation was made. That's kind of our moving forward and trying to help you guys audit better, so you can see, what it wouldn't just say the allocation was made. It shows that what price point they were at, and if they happen to swap between price points. So you should find that helpful in the allocation history for the individual subscriptions.
So this is a good question, kind of a little bit different than creating multiple pricing points, but still utilizes the new feature. A couple people have been asking about setting a $0 product and then having the component essentially justify the cost. So a name your own price tool, which is really common. In the past, we've suggested people to create a quantity component that has a value of $1 1 unit, so that what that allows you to do is enter a specific dollar amount down to the penny, and that would be the flat fee of the subscription. Going forward, what this allows you to do is it allows you to create multiple different pricing points. So not only does that allow you help you keep track of those points from a reporting standpoint, but it also allows you to save those pricing points. So if you have a team that is going out and they have certain offers that they can give customers to help close deals, that's one good way to give those agents the option of flexibility to go through those different pricing points and say, okay, I have this. If not, I can fall back on this pricing point. At the same time, if you wanted to be able to go in and just enter your own pricing point, then the pricing points would also be a good filler for that as well. Go ahead, Nick.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, kind of to tag along to that, it is a very easy way to kind of give custom price breaks to allow sales folks to be able to go in and if they're going to give 98 cents on every dollar as like kind of a discount situation, where you're saying a dollar for every allocation. It helps provide that discount without confusing things with coupons or a new product or a whole new component or anything like that. Just being able to create a price point on the fly and then assign that to that particular customer.
And then at the same turn, I think a couple people have the question on moving forward, what does that look like? So if you wanted to switch your customers over to a component price points rather than the quantity-based component, if you're setting up multiple different subscriptions for your customers, in the case where you're just offering a different product every single time that they sign up, and you go through and create the pricing points, just know that that's going to skew your reporting. So if you do have that particular setup, you would want to move them over to a new version of that product. That would be $0. So just keep that in mind, what your current setup is. If you plan on going forward and changing that over to the pricing points, it will affect your MRR.
Looks like not many more questions are coming in. If we happen to miss your question, we're still going through and trying to answer them. Can price point help give a discount on each component? So question that just came in asking about if price points can help give a discount on each component. So that's another use case that this can be utilized in. So like if you normally you charge $10 per user. If you wanted to, for a very, for a larger merchant or larger client, or just for giving a discount to someone, you could just go in and add in a custom price point for $9.50 instead of $10, or $9, or $9.75. Like you can get far into it to determine like just the multiple price points that you can set up, and in doing so you're essentially offering a discount without having to apply a coupon to that subscription. You're essentially creating a brand new price just for that customer or multiple customers. Looks like we have a question about adding a unique GL code to a price point. I'm actually not sure what that stands for. So if you can actually send in a little bit, reword the question maybe and send it back in, we can hopefully answer it for you. So each price point doesn't have that available. So you can set a handle. You can set the unique price and then the kind of the pricing scheme, but that's in the name. So you could potentially figure out a way to make that work for you by maybe including it in the name. So each price point could have a specific name or code. The handle could potentially be the name or the code. But beyond those two fields, there's not any other unique fields that you can put that information into. So for your use case, you may be able to figure out a workaround for you that would work, but you just kind of have to play with it and maybe submit a ticket and we can take a closer look at it.
And also, I'm not particularly sure how invested you are in the API, the user who asked that question. But another thing that you could do as well is you can contain those codes via custom fields as well. So if a customer allocates the component or chooses to opt into a component at any time, you can, especially at the sign up, you can add a custom field with that general ledger code.
We've got a question about setting a price point for a different price from sign up versus renewals. So that isn't necessarily a use case here. So while you could create two different price points and then after sign up move them to the other price point, you probably would be better off utilizing a coupon in that case that applies only at sign up. So there's three options when you set up a coupon. You can do it at sign up in every renewal, or sign up in a certain amount of renewals. I would just use the coupon that only applies at sign up, and then use that in conjunction with the price point, and that way you'll get a discount at sign up and then a certain price moving forward. Then again, if you use the API, you definitely could have like a setup price point and then a renewal price point, and then once you receive the webhook, make an API call to swap price points on there. So that also is an option depending on how much automation you have on your side.
The following question, I think, kind of ties into that previous question a little bit.
So I actually did not test this, but I'm going to probably go on a limb and say no. Someone's asking about if negative price points are available. As far as I'm aware, they're not. And Luke or Jeffrey can correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is for pricing people and not necessarily for providing discount. Well, it is essentially could be for providing discounts, because maybe you're going to charge them $5 versus $10. I don't think there's a way to apply a negative value so that it gives them a recurring discount. In that case, you would use a coupon.
I think that looks about good. People are still leaving, so I think that this is a good time to stop. Again, if you missed any of the webinar presentation at any point, we will be sending out a copy to everybody. I usually don't include the question section, but I'm going to this time because I feel like the question section was really the meat of the webinar presentation. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Nick, for helping with the questions. Thank you, Matt, for the presentation. And a special thank you to the developers for giving some of their valuable time to help answer those technical questions as well.
And just as a last little word, that you cannot set negative price points, just confirmed. So
thanks, Nick.
that is not up. Yep.
Have a good evening, everyone, or morning, wherever you might be.